What is worse than pardoning 4 mercenaries who killed 14 civilians, including 2 children, in Baghdad in 2007? This created a massive international outcry. They were charged with multiple accounts of voluntary and attempted manslaughter in 2014. And the first of these mercenaries who started shooting in Iraq in 2007 was convicted of first-degree murder. One of these guys, the first-degree murder, was convicted and sentenced to life. The others, 30 years in prison. At the sentencing hearing, U.S. Attorney's Office said in a statement, quote, "The sheer amount of unnecessary human loss and suffering attributable to the defendant's criminal conduct on 16th September 2007 is staggering. None of the victims were an insurgent or posed any threat to the convoy that they were protecting."
They just mowed them down.
They just mowed them down
with machine guns.
What could be worse? Well, I don't know if it's worse than pardoning them, but if you didn't have the ability to pardon them, what could be worse? Well, going on national TV and praising the fact that they were pardoned. Here is Pete Hegseth, the guy who is like the go-to congratulate the president for pardoning a war criminal guy.
I would note also the Blackwater contractors, and if you look at that story of Raven 23 and how it was misconstrued against those guys, God bless the president for having the courage, which a lot of other presidents wouldn't do, to pardon those men, those veterans who were there defending diplomats, put in an impossible situation.
Mm-hmm. An impossible situation, right? Like mass shootings of civilians. They were, I believe, from a bird's eye view, and mowed them down and killed a 9-year-old boy. And I mean, I think Scahill interviewed his father and just said he could hear the pop, 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 and said, why did they do this?
Jesus Christ. And you know how hard it is to get convicted of war crimes in this day and age? Like, war is already unnecessary suffering and death. Like, they went over there specifically to kill people, to do bad stuff. And like this one was so egregious that it actually did get brought to trial. So this guy doesn't have a leg to stand up.
Life in prison was one of the guys was sentenced to. So that must mean they were pretty bad, didn't have enough remorse. What Trump is signaling now is that these civilians don't matter because of their ethnicity, because of their religion. And also, this is a way to reward Eric Prince and his sister Betsy DeVos because these were Blackwater guys. Once again, the idiotic talking point that Trump is in some way completely divorced from the Republicans of past who were corrupt, in bed with mercenaries and military industrial complex folks. Like, no, he is part and parcel of them. He is of the same ilk. And this is an indicator that you should not try to separate those two, even if he echoes the rhetoric he hears on Tucker Carlson from time to time. It's empty, and they're all a part of the same group. They're all under the same tent.
Yeah, well, but he shared candy with Michelle Obama, right? George W. Bush. So, clearly he's good.
Very sweet.
And Trump said he would end the wars, except never follows through. So it's the same thing. So,
in addition to pardoning those 4 killers, mercenary killers who massacred 14 Iraqi civilians, there was also 11 other people who were pardoned by Donald Trump. One was Duncan Hunter, and the other was Chris Collins. These are both former Republican congressmen. I say former because they were both committed crimes while they were congressmen. Chris Collins, literally there is video of him on the White House lawn with his phone calling in to do insider trading from information that he had gotten.
And then didn't Duncan Hunter blame his wife for his corruption.
And Duncan Hunter blamed his wife for his corruption. I imagine now that she's very excited. He's
wow. What a cuck.
Yeah. So Hunter was sentenced for 11 months imprisonment, set to begin in 2020. Chris Collins also pled guilty. Hunter misused campaign funds, tried to blame it on his wife. Who doesn't? And Chris Collins, former Republican, pled guilty to conspiring to commit securities fraud and making false statements to the FBI. He is serving his 26-month sentence, now pardoned. Also pardoned, like I said, those 4 mercenaries who killed 14 unarmed Iraqi civilians at a Baghdad traffic stop. George Papadopoulos, former Trump campaign ad, who pled guilty as part of the investigation into the Russian meddling of the 2016 presidential election. He pled guilty to lying to FBI agents. Alex van der Zwaan, a son-in-law of Russian billionaire German Khan. He was sentenced to 30 days in prison, fined $20,000 for lying to U.S. Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Alfonso Costa, a dentist from Pittsburgh who had pled guilty to healthcare fraud related to false billing. Alfred Lee Crum pled guilty in 1952 to helping a relative illegally distill moonshine in Oklahoma. I got no problem with that one. And Weldon Angelos, who had been sentenced in 2002 to 55 years imprisonment for selling marijuana and carrying a handgun in the course of dealing, was released by a judge ordered after serving 13 years in prison. That seems excessive to me. Philip Lyman, who was a county commissioner in Utah, he was prosecuted for protesting the Bureau of Land Management's closure of the Recapture Canyon to ATV riders. I don't think you should have to go to prison for that, but I would have liked a nice, healthy fine for that guy for not doing his job and not protecting our commons from a couple of people who want to ride ATVs all over it. Sorry, guys. We should
outlaw ATVs and motorcycles. That's
what? No. Freedom hater.